Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am rather amazing on this fair morning.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh,
It's
thank you
really
for the invitation.
it's a very, very, very special day, Anaya. And good morning, everybody. As you slowly start joining our broadcast, we are aware that technology and on StreamYard, there is sometimes a little bit of delay. So a few seconds. So we usually give a minute or two for people to start joining without losing any part of the conversation. For all of those that are here, we already have 7 people with us. Welcome on this very special day. Have been very excited for this opportunity. There is a very warming feeling growing these past weeks, and especially since we have placed this intention for this conversation, so many extraordinary things that have been just happening and coming to us that I can't stop being overwhelmed always by the power of the intention.
Mhm.
And I would like everybody that is on the 1111 to thank you so much again for supporting us and to having an interest on sharing your journey with us, and also to go a little bit back on what has been since last, I believe, over a month or so, that I just took this leap of faith and contacted Anaya to about what we do here and how interesting it's work, and if she would be kind enough to want to come and share. And immediately I got a reply, and I was so overwhelmed and I felt so blessed from that moment. Thank you, Anaya.
Uh, I feel that exactly the same way. And it's so wonderful that we were meant to do this last Saturday on the Lion's Gate, and it got moved to this Saturday, which is just as potent. So thank you for your flexibility and bearing with all these changes.
Our blessings. And we have a comment here from Nadia. She's Inez. So good to see Anaya here. You both look absolutely beautiful. My Nadia, you are so beautiful. And thank you so much, because you are the key that introduced me to Anaya. And
Yeah.
what a blessing. And curious enough, let's pick up on Nadia. I met Nadia um, 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. She would be better, yeah, to in the beginning of her journey as well, as an for a workshop in a sacred Indian tradition. And yeah, since then she's one of these beautiful desert energies, souls that have been on my Ayu. And Ayu is the Quechua word for community. Um, and very, 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 very beautiful. So from our last encounter, and you this lockdown and all of this new way of living
Mhm.
life and adapting and being our own persons, and also a whole lot of introspection that all around the world people have been taking this time for. Um, I have, for those of you, I've continued my monthly ceremonies of Thanksgiving by the full moon, which are dispachos, which is offerings. And it's quite difficult because it's supposedly to be a physical ceremony. But universe knows no time and no distance. And that was the biggest message. It was for me to carry on. So I took this leap and I offered it, of course, with the full the full protection of space and with the best love and greater good online. So I performed the ceremonies, and then the bundles, I kept them in my altar until the time where it would be possible to give them to fire, because they need to be transmuted and given to fire, and we weren't allowed to be outdoors. And so we had the opportunity to do 4 despachos, and one of them was to air, element air, which is the creation, the concept, where you want to go, your projects, your ideas, designing your will. And another one was to fire, where is to the element that transmutes, that really assists you to shed your skin, to leave your skin behind, and to grow a new one, and to have the courage to do that full transmuting energy. So through that time, 1111 was creating matter, a body, was creating water with its emotion, its feeling, but also its air, because what would be a product, what would be the mission, what would be the goal, in which ways, which mechanisms, and the community as well. And then the fire, which was the temperature, the movement, make it happen, love, soul. And when all of this was happening, we were given an opportunity to almost be the housekeepers of this beautiful property for a family that was immigrating to Finland. And of course, there is no coincidences now. We can transmute, we can give these dispachos to fire. And we decided not to do a full moon dispacho, but to, at the full moon, do a fire ceremony and offer these dispachos. And there was a whole lot of phenomena from that fire. A lot of beautiful energy and faces and messages, and visible, totally visible for the most Gnostic person. And the following Saturday would be the Saturday where Anaya would come and speak to us at Lion's Gate. And after that fire, I received a message from Anaya that she had been given this beautiful opportunity. And again, I don't believe in coincidences. So Anaya, would you like to tell us a little bit about what happened beautifully to you and your family?
Absolutely. Well, Pete and I spotted a property nestled at the base of Montségur, which is the old Cathar fortress. And it was up for sale. And we have been wanting to move for a long time. And that became really reinforced once COVID arrived, our friend COVID. And I was also very keen to get mum and dad down to France, where we could look after them and shield them, because they were very much on their own in England. And so they came out, and I left it about 4 days to introduce them to the property, because it's huge. And I was a bit afraid that they would say, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Please buy a normal home." And this is not a normal home at all. This is kind of like an old convent. It's got a chapel, it's got a spring, it's got a cave, it's got a labyrinth, it's got a great big crucifix actually in the mountain up above. So I hedged my bets, and on the fourth day, I showed mum and dad, and they absolutely loved it. And they also knew that this was really the property for myself and Pete because they know about our projects. So it was an instant yes. And so on the 5th, I took them round and they loved it. There's an apartment there which is just perfect for them. And so on the 5th, we made our offer. It was accepted. And so on the 8th, Lionsgate, we were signing our first paper, our first legal paper to say that we are in a promise to buy this property. So it happened so fast. And that was why I couldn't be with you all on the 8th, because we were having a little party round at our house. The old owners came round with the paper, and we all sat round our dining room table just beneath us right now and signed over.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's a huge place. But
And
I
it's a huge
always
plan.
foresaw it as like a little Noah's Ark. This is going to be a sanctuary, a refuge. We don't know what's up ahead of us in the coming years. And it's big enough for a lot of people to come and be here and birth, you know, a new way, a new way of living. And of course, it's well, you know, as we get into our talk, we have this Cathar Prophecy that expires next year. So it's very exciting.
And I was so overwhelmed because people who know me knows that I don't believe in coincidences at all, at all, and I'm a true believer in the power of manifestation and of our will and expanding this huge vibration and going beyond this bubble, this beautiful bubble that is lent to us for some years to enjoy. And I can see the comments going that congratulations from Evelyn Gazira. She says, congratulations, Anaya, on the birthing of your new home. Cheers to new beginnings. So beautiful. And Rian Spring from Dubai is saying hello as well. And Nadia also, congrats, Anaya and Pete. Wonderful news. And yes, the comments just keep flowing, and it's so nice. Thank you, everybody. I feel very happy for you, and also hearing about and following. And I'm also gonna put here a little banner at the bottom showing. With your permission, please, with your website, for people to connect to your website and find out this beautiful work that you and Pete have and this wonderful project, because and now also knowing that you really have this idea for young teens and working with youth and energy, and so much that they are really they are so open.
Yes.
They are so open, they're beautiful, and they really need this pure energy and this ancient knowledge to come to them, because they know precisely how to decipher them.
Yes.
Much better than our generation does. So, and this was our introduction. I am so excited to find out about what is this, the Cathars, and what is this 699 years prophecy, and why is it coming to a completion next year in 2021, and what is the connection of Mary Magdalene, and what is your connection to all of this? So over to you.
Thank you so much. Well, my dearest friends, I suggest we start from the beginning and begin our journey together. So, once upon a time, there could well have been a land, a continent known as Mu, M-U. It was a golden age. It was one of the very first, if not the first, human civilization. And it was somewhere, let me think, yes, in the Atlantic. And it received a cataclysm. So there was a natural event that caused the breaking down and the falling apart of that civilization. But before that happened, wise ones could see the writing on the wall, and so they took their artifacts, they took their relics, they took their papyrus, they took their wisdom. And it is told that those, perhaps it was the priests and priestesses of Mu, let's just say the wise ones, or let's just say the ones chosen to take the wisdom and relocate. And so that wisdom came across to Cusco in Peru, and then eventually laid quiet in Lake Titicaca. The people, however, that made that migration later became known as the Lemurians. And so we have another civilization of a very similar quality, very high vibration, very elegant, very amazing, another golden era, another golden age. And Lemuria, years later, also underwent a natural cataclysm, breaking down, falling apart. And they did exactly the same thing. The wise ones took what was important and apparently put it inside Mount Shasta in California. And those chosen ones then became known as the Atlanteans. And once again, we have a continent known as Atlantis, where there is wisdom from Mu, from Lemuria, now Atlantis. So basically, there is a migration, natural, cyclic perhaps, and inevitable perhaps. Once again, the same thing happens. A natural, key word, a natural breaking down and falling apart to then migrate and now appear in ancient Egypt. It's important to note that the wise ones are migrating, and with them the relics, artifacts, wisdom, items, perhaps bloodline. Ancient Egypt, again, this time, not a falling apart perhaps of the land mass, but most definitely a fall from grace. So those wonderful golden dynasties, there was a time where that way of life kind of degraded and sort of fell into ruin. But we see our friend Moses moving a group of people out of ancient Egypt and into what we now call the Holy Land. So now we're hanging around in the time of Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Mother Mary, John the Baptist, Mary Magdalene, people who clearly have some kind of mystical, esoteric knowledge, I would say, coming from ancient Egypt. Mary Magdalene is often known as a priestess of Isis. So for sure, this little group of people have had some kind of tutelage of the mysteries of ancient Egypt. And perhaps they have within their vicinity artifacts, relics, papyrus, items. Now, after that great big moment of initiation with Yeshua on the cross undergoing the crucifixion, we see that migration again. Let's be broad and say that there was a migration of wise ones and relics to Europe. Let's be broad and say Europe, because we do know that Mother Mary first came to Gaul, which is now known as France, but she did indeed make her way later to Ephesus in Turkey. We know John the Beloved came over as well, spent a little bit of time in Gaul, now France, but then went over to Patmos in Greece. Mary Magdalene, we know for certain, came to the shore of Gaul, France, and landed in a little port now known as Sainte Marie de la Mer. So there's a migration to Europe. Wise ones and artifacts. There's a great tale that says that Mary Magdalene and her little group of people, perhaps John the Beloved, Mother Mary, that's what fits and rests quite nicely in my heart, that their little rudderless, oarless, sailless boat was met by a great lady called Sarah Lakali, who was a gypsy queen who had Egyptian blood. The tale is that Sarah was wearing a particularly fabulous dress on that day because she was forewarned that this little boat was coming to shore. A few days earlier, she'd had a vision from her ancestors saying, "Look out for a little boat, very important cargo, make sure it comes to land safely." And I always imagined that she was wearing a particularly frilly and large dress, because the tale is that she waded out into the ocean when she saw that little boat coming, and because of all the folds in her dress, the dress created a little raft, and she was able to swim towards the boat, wrap a rope around her shoulder, and literally drag it to land. And of course, at that time, there was a lot of Roman presence all around that Marseille, Provence shoreline. And so it was important that that little boat landed safely and quietly. And Sarah, we're told, ushered them in towards their more druid, more pagan settlement, totally out of sight of Roman view, where I would imagine that Sarah kept them safe for a few days. It would have been wise to move them on, because Sainte Marie de la Mer was in fact a Roman settlement, and that whole Provence region, extremely Roman. Marseille was the second largest Roman settlement. And so I would imagine Sarah and her pagan, druid, Egyptian community would have told them very important things. And she would have guided them over towards the Pyrenees, which was still independent, heretical, and more important, the energy, the tectonic, the telluric energy of the Pyrenees, of that mountain range, was very particular. Its tectonic activity was odd and unusual. Instead of it going from east to west, it was going from north to south and south to north. So there was a phenomena in the energy of the French Pyrenees, and that energy shows up again in the Himalaya, which makes both mountain ranges very compatible to spiritual experiences. Basically, that translates as the veil is awfully thin in those mountain ranges. I suspect it was Sarah who said, "Go in that direction and be careful. There's Romans everywhere." So off goes Mary Magdalene with John the Beloved, and I would say Mother Mary as well, and maybe a few others, perhaps Joseph of Arimathea, and apparently Mary Magdalene's sort of distant companion, Maximus, who was a Roman centurion, part of the crucifixion, who was so horrified by what actually happened that he couldn't actually come to leave Mary Magdalene's side ever, ever, ever again. We'll come back to Maximus later, perhaps. And so along comes Mary to the French Pyrenees, where she is taken in by the families that lived a little bit higher up. The Romans could never capture the Pyrenees. They weren't very good with altitude. they were only used to the lowlands, and they just kind of surrendered at the base of the foothills because they didn't have the lungs for the high altitudes. They didn't know anything about the mountain passes. And so the people who lived there were very independent and never really were too fond of the French mainland and also the Spanish mainland. So there was a little mix of peoples here, the Occitans and the Catalans. They really saw themselves as independent. And so Mary was taken in and kept safe and kept hidden. My feeling is that once the real intensity of the moment had passed, when she felt that she could breathe again, she would have started to stretch out, okay, it's safe to come out. And she would have literally continued on where she left off. Transmitting, telling stories, giving masses, holding gatherings, just like she did in the Holy Land with her beloved Yeshua, who may have been with her in person, that's one tale, or who may have been with her in spirit. But what's really important to know is that whatever was going on in the Holy Land was happening again in the French Pyrenees, not to a lesser degree, to the same ampage and the same level of transmission. This is the first thing that needs to be told. This transmission was like a duck to water to the people of the Pyrenees, who are already heretical, which means they have the right to choose. This is lavishly bathed upon them, and it goes into their hearts, and it goes into their blood, and it goes into their generation after generation after generation. So something is taking foot, something is landing in the French Pyrenees and is being accepted as the chosen faith. So a golden age has come to the French Pyrenees, and slowly, 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 century after century, it gets stronger and more widespread. It falls down and over into Catalonia. It seeps its way into Portugal. It even makes its way over into Italy. It has no name at the moment. Perhaps les bon hommes, the good men and women, perhaps the good faith, perhaps the early Christians, but they didn't call themselves anything. They were just being themselves. Now, in the late 11th century, this movement, these people are starting to sort of show up in the Church of Rome, in the Vatican, in the Pope of the time. So, of course, the Roman Catholic Church is starting to become very, very strong, very, very established, and is the main European religion. But it keeps coming to the Pope's attention that there's also a parallel faith that seems to be also picking up a lot of momentum, and it becomes an itch that the Pope cannot scratch. And it becomes irritating, and it becomes a little bit of a thorn in the side of the Roman Catholic Church. And it's very popular. And there's even talk of the people seeming to be filled with a sense of light, a sense of freedom, and they're enjoying this fabulously generous and prosperous and lovely faith. And the Pope and the Church of Rome don't really like the sound of that, because they want everything. They want full control of Europe. And they certainly don't like the idea of people being independent, prosperous, and able to connect with the Spirit at their will. And so this irritation, so many bishops and priests and religious men of Europe keep telling tales to the Pope as if to rally up some kind of anti-energy towards this other branch of the faith that still to this day don't have a name. And so it eventually got a name. The Pope called them the Cathars. And now they're being known as heretics. But to our hearts, we are the spiritual descendants of Mary Magdalene, and perhaps, in some cases, the bloodline of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. And so now there is a schism, a divide is happening. There is the Church of Rome, which you could say is the Church of Peter. And there is the lineage of Mary Magdalene, which is perhaps the more mystical, the more esoteric understanding of one and the same thing. And so a crusade is made to actually crusade against Europe. There's never been a crusade against anybody within its own vicinity. There were 2 crusades previous to that, and that was both to the Holy Land. So to have another crusade against our own people was just unprecedented, shocking, and frightening. And this crusade was to come to the south of France and absolutely weed out the Cathars, weed out all and every trace of Mary Magdalene, whether it's a bloodline or whether it's a spiritual descendancy. Whatever she said, whatever she gave, whatever she seeded in the people must be exterminated. Not one can be left behind. It has to be squashed. And so the Albigensian crusade came our way. And for a long period of time, there was severe bloodshed all over this region of Occitania and Catalonia. But I'm not here to tell that tale. I'm here to say what happened toward the end. One thing that always stands out for me is this word bloodshed. Now, if there are thousands of Cathars, people who have been touched by the teachings, if not the physical touch, of Mary Magdalene, and perhaps her blood runs through their veins, and the mystery and the gnosis and the presence. Now, when these people are killed, it is their blood, which contains their consciousness, that is splashed upon the earth of this land. And so there is a seepage. The blood that contains the consciousness falls into the rock, the earth, the grass of this continent. And to me, it just lays quiet in the earth, waiting for little footfalls to come to the surface of the earth again in search of the wisdom. And that wisdom rises up to where we are walking and starts to come into the soles of our feet if we're willing to do the groundwork, which is to walk, to pray, and to ask to be reconnected again. It's in the land. Let's just jump forward now to 1321. Hold that number in your head. 1321. Here we are, down in the south of France. And the very last Cathar Prophecy has just handed himself in, because he doesn't know he's the last one. He just hands himself in. And then he finds out that he is indeed the very last one, and that there has been a great search for him for at least 30 years. When he finds out he is the last one, that little flame of transmission that he was carrying, that he may have not believed fully, suddenly totally activates, and now he becomes that parfait that he had a little trouble accepting. He wasn't a holy man by design. He was a little bit of an artist. He liked the ladies. He liked to eat. He liked to drink. He was actually my kind of parfait, but he struggled with, am I really worthy enough to take these vows? When he found out he was the last one and he was about to be burnt at the stake, I believe utterly that all of that resistance, all of that unworthiness just burnt with white fire as the Spirit descended and ascended within him, because he was now the most glorious parfait I could ever imagine. We're told that when he was being burnt at the stake, he looked up as if to commune with something in the sky. Tears fell down him, and he started to laugh and be filled with joy as if receiving a message, because he then come back down and addressed everybody who was witnessing him being burnt at the stake. And in Occitan language, he pretty much said, in 700 years we shall return, for this spirit cannot be squashed. When the laurel, that's our native tree, when the laurel turns green again, we shall return. 1321, 700 years, 2021. Now here is a very important piece of the story. Because we live down here, 2 years ago, we had an invasion by an Asian moth butterfly. Gorgeous little thing. We didn't know what it was. We just thought they were white butterflies. And so we welcomed them in. Yay! Makes everything more fairy tale-like. Well, these little Asian moth butterflies nestled in our laurel tree and our box tree. And at the end of the summer, we realized, they have stripped the tree of all of its nourishment. This beautiful evergreen was now parched and brown and brittle. And we were like, oh my God, the laurel tree, this is so important. It's turned brown. The following year, the Asian moth butterflies came again and did the same thing again, making it more parched, more brown, more brittle. But, and this is the spectacular news, they have not turned up this year. And it is already August, and our laurel and box tree have 1/3 of green growth growing. The tops are still brown, but down at the root and at least 1/3 up the trunk, green shoots are coming out, and the tree is not dead. It is being restored, which means next year, 2021, that little native tree of ours is going to be totally resurrected. and green and lush and back again. And that, my dearest friends, is the Cathar Prophecy. I often wondered that piece when the laurel turns green again. I've been living here nearly 20 years now. So I used to look at the laurel trees going, but they're already green. I don't understand. They're already green. Now I understand. And what does that mean? We shall return. I feel the we-ness is the accumulation of all that migration from Mu to Lemuria to Atlantis to ancient Egypt to the Holy Land to Europe. Because the Cathars were just a face. Mary Magdalene is just a face. It's a whole lineage that has been here since the very, very beginning. I can see that things have been moved and stored in places for a later generation. I don't know about you, but I don't want to store it for a later generation. I feel we could be the ones that piece it all together. And I don't know, that's where I stumble. Do something, be something. I just don't know. But that is where I currently am with this Cathar Prophecy. And of course, to top it off, like I shared at the beginning, this property has just come up. Pete and I want to make this an absolute place of this Cathar and the whole lineage, to be honest, a place where you can come and be replenished and drink and stay and walk and connect with this tradition. There is no memorial to a lady called Esclamande de Foix. She was the high priestess of the Cathar tradition, and it was forbidden to paint her, it was forbidden to sculpt her, and it was forbidden to say where and if she ever died and is laying in the ground. Some say she turned into a white dove at the crusade of Montségur and flew away, and is the Holy Spirit hovering above Mount Soularac in the French Pyrenees. Others say no, she died a normal death, but it is forbidden to say where she is buried. So one of the things I very much want to do is to make a memorial to Esclamande de Foix, the high priestess of the Cathar faith, so that people like us can pay our respects to this great lady who was very much part of the Mary Magdalene and back lineage. So there you go. There's the tale.
Wow, thank you. We are so blessed. The amounts of comments that has been popping, and the amount of hearts that you touched, and so many beautiful messages, and you speak about the butterflies and these pretty beautiful whitish moth that actually comes and it's on destruction, although it's full of beauty, but destruction, correct? And in South Africa, and we were talking about it this morning, it was coming end of last year, beginning of this year, that we had these millions of them, and we couldn't understand what was happening, what was this migration of clouds of millions of these butterflies, and there was a message. And I remember I was say that we don't understand what is happening, but this is a shift and something is happening. And I think it was not even 2 months later that we got our friend COVID.
Yes, yes, yes.
And all of you that are here in these broadcasts, and those of you that are in South Africa, and especially in Johannesburg, they can witness to what I am saying, and 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 we haven't seen them here,
No.
and now they're not there. So let's go back to what you were telling about the story, and the traveling, and South Africa also being one of the points of the
Yeah.
star of the crown.
Absolutely.
So can we go to the path and see that, okay, as if we take a map and we go back in time, and it's like that journey is reversing, is coming to a reset. And today it's Assumption Day.
Yes. Yes, yes.
And we are talking about birthing, and we are talking about transmuting fire, not fearing fire, being joyous of the rebirth, because what is ahead, it's so much higher.
Yes.
I
I'll try and say a little something, but it's not formed within me yet. But let's perhaps say that there are 12 earth gates on this planet, chakras, portals, vortexes. Table Mountain in South Africa is one of them. Mount Shasta, Lake Titicaca. Oh, this is so difficult because it's not formed yet. So the kind of imagery and inner work that I'm working with at the moment is that, oh gosh, I'll try and say it. So in my heart, there is this Sophia character. Sometimes she's seen as a lady. Sometimes she's seen as a genderless stream of living to the moment consciousness that includes our ancient wisdom, but is right here and now in this breath and the accumulation of that wisdom right now into this moment. She has 12 stars. And of course, there's 12 earth gates on the planet. My feeling is that this 2021 moment is going to be the knitting of one star to one portal, and that we're all part of this knitting process. Here I am in France, here's Inez in the South Africa, and wherever you gals and guys are, that we as humans, as daughters and sons of this Sophia or living consciousness, wisdom, is going to knit. We're going to close the gap on that star and that earth gate, and we're going to bring them together in time for this 2021, so that this wisdom that has been moved on and migrated all around our planet, some people call it the rainbow serpent, the path line, the story line, the song line, and that, this statement, we shall return again, it's not going to be just in France, but it's going to be boom out of every single Earthgate and portal. This rainbow serpent is just going to bark, and it's going to be spewing forth from every one of these places. And now we have the 13th Stargate, because when the 12 are present, the 13th appears. When all those 12 stars are lit up in her crown, now we have Sophia. There's no 12 stars anymore. There's no crown. There's just light. And the same with our planet. No 12 Earth gates, but the 13th emanation, which could well be because we've seen it before. What happened when Mu became Lemuria? When Lemuria became Atlantis, when Atlantis became Egypt? We know that this happens regularly, perhaps psychically, psychic as in cycle. Is this patriarchal industrial age also gonna fall to then be reborn into something fresh and new and harmonious and graceful? Certainly looks that way, beloved friends, because how can we come back after what we're going through? There's only one way to go, and that's through the eye of the needle and out the other side. So I am very excited.
I am absolutely overwhelmed right now. And it's just pop, 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 pop. And again, like, okay, let's we've set this 1111 together, get undressed of all these over 24 years of diplomatic life to embrace the gift. Takes a whole lot of courage, but it's so rewarding, and not quite knowing, okay, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, but this is a mission, and this is a message, and is now. And all of these starts being set together, and then people come and Mary Magdalene comes so strong, especially from March 2017. Around March 2017, February, March 2017, and more and more and more and more. And then I'm talking about this Mary coming stronger, and this friend, I invite her because also Christ and the bloodline, it's coming, it's calling. And then there is a group of initiates on the Indian tradition that are, and some of them are here in this moment with us, that we start, there's something else that we don't quite know, but it's something else. And we all start getting the call to teach forward, to give forward, to reciprocate what also been given to us, but with our community, on creating, on expanding. So that divine feminine energy, that birthing, that explosion, that light, which is also in the Andean cross, that again was left in Cusco, the womb of the planet. In the middle, that is the ether element, or the unconditional love, which is expanding, is this network of love, the way that we talk, the way that we care, the way that we are aware, passing on and legacy. And the symbol of the jaguar as well, that is that is the totem that bridges, that is able to cross worlds from this world that we perceive, and the upper world, and the world of knowledge of and ancestors, and of light, of Sami, refined energy. But the Puma is also the totem and the protector of Late Titicaca people
Mm.
and the Amaruna.
Wow.
And here we are going to the feminine, and when also it's taking me like so much on this journey that is like making sense. Like when I was after my one of my initiations, and I was in Machu Picchu, and I knew that there were 12 portals, and was not very versed on sacred geometry, for an example, but I knew them, and I took to myself, okay, to identify them where they were, and I could identify 10 of the 12, and I could relate to 5 of them, and I actually opened one, and was a three-dimensional portal, and that shift of knowledge, that trigger, that moment, and the 13 apostles.
Mm. Mm.
And here we are today, Mary Magdalene, Assumption Day, the feast day of Sophia, with Anaya Sophia, and talking about the Cathar Prophecy.
Pretty
The
amazing.
Lion, correct? The Lion Gate Day was not for our talk. The Lion Gate Day was for property, for nest, for
Yes.
the spring, for the chapel, for the family, for the home. But the message was on Sophia Feast Day. I'm so honored.
Wow. I remember last Saturday, I can't believe I've never spotted it before. As I was signing the papers, obviously I was doing the signature A Sophia. But then I looked down at what I was doing and I saw, Sophia. Sophia is signing for this. I can't believe I never noticed that my signature was A Sophia. And I went, oh my God. Sophia is taking this property. Flippin' heck.
No coincidences, right?
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is that although we are blessed to be called for this path, because somehow we have been entrusted with a gift and with a role, there's a mandate for
Yes.
us that we might not be able to fully or even slightly partially understand
Yeah.
what our mandate is, but definitely the need to accept that we have been given a role.
Yeah.
And that is not ego, that's being humble and taking the responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. And that is what
And
is so live at the moment. You know, this period, there's in France, you have the first signature and the second signature, and this can take 6 weeks. I'm swinging from jubilation to the weight of responsibility, and I can't do this, and yes, I can. And oh God, it's such a biggie. And of course, I've got
it,
mum and dad involved.
yeah,
I have to succeed because I'm now taking care of my parents. Whoo! Big
which,
task.
which is uh, our responsibility.
Yeah.
They have birthed us, they have looked after us, and then it comes a time where it's for us to look after them. But
Yes.
if we think outside of the box again, it's the same with the legacy, and it's the same with the Cathars.
Yes.
So we have been entrusted with a story, with knowledge,
Mm.
with wisdom, and we are now have to take it, not just look at it,
No, that's
but
right.
to have action,
Yeah.
to to move forward. So
Yeah.
it's that it, and that's why I said that it can't be ego, because it's so, if it is for ego, then let me relax and let others take care of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, it's the huge responsibility that, no, if this has been thrown to my lap, to my responsibility, I
Yes.
can't, I, yes, I'm excited that it was given to me, but I also don't have the choice of saying no, because now I have to roll with it.
Yes.
So, and I feel that's exactly what is now with, also with you and Pete.
Yes.
And that is why you're not a newbie. You are there for 20 years. You had
Yeah.
to be proven that you were the Sophia.
I certainly had many trials and tribulations. Yeah.
It's beautiful, and with this we are all very expecting about how it's going to unfold,
Mm.
and also that your beautiful Occitania will also find the
Yes.
rightful new custodians.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Very much looking for that person or couple.
Yes, that would be the next, that will be able to nestle and take it further,
Yes.
and to birth the next batch,
Yeah. That's
uh,
it. Yeah. Yeah.
which
Welcoming
is,
people into this region.
yes,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful, and this connection, this triangle that is now being placed with the okay, so I would say Cusco, because Cusco is where in the Andean tradition, after the beginning of the priesthood, where we begin our path as masters,
Mm. Mm.
and that's when we get the transmission of energy of the spirit of the mountain,
Mm.
the masculine spirit of the mountain Apu, and the feminine spirit of the mountain Nushta, which is transmitted by the moon,
Mm.
and makes the connection between earth and moon.
Yeah.
And it's in Cusco, the womb. So doing this triangle, and Africa, and
Yeah.
where I am sitting on the foothills of Mahalisburg, which is the cradle of humankind.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Okay. I just find it, I'm so excited for this journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm.
I'm very excited to see how all of this is unfolding, and what is the roles, and what are the journeys, and if in any ways young 1111 concept and can be also part of your journey further,
Yeah.
and um, and that you can be also part of our journey, and perhaps even on the avatar experiences, which is something that 1111 will put forward. So far we are thinking on creating this journey, which is the sacred sites of knowledge. So far
Mm.
we have also three. So we have uh, by the Northern Lights and the Sami people, so the shamans of northern Russia, Lapland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and uh, uh, um, the shamans of fire and
Mm.
that knowledge, and going to Lapland to work with the shamans and get this transmission of
Mm.
energy, and then Peru and Bolivia with Lady Titicaca and some sacred sites in Peru, and then coming to South Africa and working with the four elements and the caves and air and the sand dunes, and also the beginning of mankind.
Yes.
And there is, and then also then my personal journey as a daughter of Santiago de Compostela and Occitania. I think that there is a whole lot of things
Yeah.
coming together.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So I'm going to put some on the screen, some of the comments that we have um, we have received. So from the beginning, we have had some. So I'm going to show you some messages from
Yay.
Evelyn.
Yeah.
And Evelyn, she's in South Africa. Hello, Evelyn.
Hey,
And then
Evelyn.
also from Rian, and Rian is also a Suyualto Misayok, and he lives in Dubai.
Hmm.
With is here, and then beautiful Nadia,
Oh, thanks, Nadia.
and we have Patrick,
Oh,
and
wow,
yes,
Patrick. I
yes.
messaged him this morning.
Okay, and
Yeah.
Patrick actually is also asking if will this talk stay online afterwards. So we would then, Anaya, you can then let Patrick know as well. So far we will keep it on the 11:11 on the YouTube site
Brilliant.
until
Brilliant.
for some time. And then we also have here love from
Ah,
Slovakia,
yes.
from
Hi, you guys.
Renata, and Valerie also said hi
Aw,
and congratulations on your new
yay.
move.
Thanks, Val.
And then we also have I love you from Cindy. She loved our conversation, and she also had a comment that of
Yeah.
positivity. And okay, we have several comments. Okay, so Nadia also asked a question to summer to go on. Okay, that is great.
Absolutely. Yes.
Uh, I would be also very looking forward to share all of these news, and then we also have Vera from Portugal saying hi to us,
Yeah.
and
Ah, hello.
Matt,
Yeah.
and we also have Sandy Davidson comment. Hello, Sandy,
Hi, Sandy.
and then we have a message from Simon.
Ah. Ah. Oh, very good.
Wow, this is really, really good news, Simon.
Yeah.
And it just shows how there's no borders, there's no
Right.
geographic or time barriers, right? And it's
Yes.
the time for the enlightenment and to get all of these going. So, Anaya, tell us, what do you how can we access this beautiful wisdom and knowledge of yours. And we go onto your website. Do you offer, do, do you have maybe a membership of that people can subscribe and be closer to you and to your knowledge, to
Yeah.
all of these beautiful knowledge? Do you offer a retreat? Because Occitania is a bed and breakfast, right?
Yeah.
So do you offer workshops? I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about,
Certainly.
because we're not going to be castrated of air flights for all our lives.
Well, I would say come on over to the website where there is loads of videos and audios and blog posts and all of that stuff. And then if you're really into it, if your heart goes, "Oh my God, this is for me," then you can get this thing called a temple pass, which means you can have access to all the transmissions I've ever done, which is well over 200, as well as everything I will do in that year of subscribing. And I tend to do 2 a month, one on the new moon and full moon. And they tend to be just like cutting edge, sort of like oral medicine for the moment. So I'm navigating our human journey and all the things that I think you and I might be coming up against and using that ability, the oral medicine to record something comforting and nourishing for this time. But I must say, the website has a lot of stuff that you can get right into.
Okay, so let me pass it here for those of you that have not had the chance to get it right. Thank you. That's really, really, really encouraging, because um, there are times we all have our lives, and now you also say that you also have the full moon and the new moon,
Yes,
and
yes.
again, it goes by no coincidences. So myself also, in terms of Thanksgiving ceremonies,
Mm.
I work very, very much with the full moon, and then when it's the new messages and new intentions,
Yes.
then with the new moon.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, so that is really nice. We have another comment here from
Oh.
Simon. All right, so we're gonna try to look for this link.
Yes.
And Nadia also says that she appreciates it. Appreciates she would also come to see it, um, because Simon says that he recently wrote a story about Mary
Oh.
Magdalene and Peter,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he would like also to share it. So, guys, this has been like absolutely fantastic. I'm so over the moon, very excited for new things to come.
Yeah.
If you have further comments or questions, and usually because when we receive knowledge, it we don't integrate immediately. Doesn't
Mm.
just come like that. There are things that just build up and they come. So I would propose that from this conversation today, from this beautiful moment, if it comes too hard that there is something else that you would like to ask, that you would like to tap into, that you contact us. So directly with Anaya, or with me, or with me to Anaya, or vice versa.
Yes.
We'll just get all of this energy flowing. Please do.
Yeah.
And put a like. So if you come and subscribe us, or put a like us, then you will get to know what is happening, and you will get to know also feedback on these beautiful journeys. that would be amazing. And thank you so much for the support. I am personally looking forward for growing and growing more, and also to finding more. I'm actually thinking on subscribing to your path, your path, because I'm so excited. I don't want this to be a one kind of a date.
Yeah.
A one day stand. Kind of.
No one night stands.
So the idea, so I'm definitely gonna dive onto your website and find out more about. And Evelina, um,
Thank you, Evelyn. Likewise.
yeah, that's really really
Thanks,
nice.
Simon. I'm going to go and check out Simon. Simon's
Yes,
interesting.
yeah, I think that Simon's gonna have a little bit of stalking.
Yes.
And so will you. I think your website's going to have a lot of ping pings.
Oh, I hope so. It's very interesting. My husband's called Peter. And
Yes.
I often look at him going, another flipping Peter.
And Sophia. Peter and Sophia.
And you know, the marriage, you know, and I think that's it. We have to somehow unite these paths again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sophia. Sophia, that is brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And then tell me something. I wanted to ask you. I'm just curious. Um, I've seen in your posts about this beautiful property that these pools.
Oh, the Isis mystery pools in
I don't want
Rennes.
it too long, but can you tell us? I just got this magical memory of baptism. Not sure if this makes sense in any way, but
Yes.
it came a very beautiful. When I saw those photos, the first thing that I felt like doing was to put my
Yeah.
head back
Yes, yes.
immediately.
Okay, well, where we live, there are so many stories that Mary Magdalene passed through here en route to the mountains and or stayed here for rather a long time. There's a little village called Rennes-le-Château, which has a great mystery connected to it. But 2,000 years ago, this was a temple of Isis. And the little village down below, which is now called Rennes-le-Ban, was an Isis mystery school. The Roman tradition took Isis, Ra, and I think it's just those two, took those two gods and goddesses from the Egyptian pantheon and made them their own. So for the Romans to have a temple of Isis, this is quite normal, even though it sounds strange. So where those photographs came from, that's known as the Isis mystery pools. There's 7 of them, all descending down. My understanding is that the pool was the classroom, that the priestess would have been in the water giving her teaching. The students would have been sat around the pool, and when they felt like they had received the wisdom, they would submerge as if to affirm, I have received. And then a couple of weeks later, they would meet at the next pool, and the next level would be given. That's the Isis mystery pools. But there is indeed another place called Fontaine des Amours, the Fountain of Love, which is close to that same area. And it's a salty pool where a salty river has come along, filled itself up, and continued on. This pool is indeed where Mary Magdalene did her baptisms, and before her the Celts, because it's a salt pool. It's made from salt water coming from a salty spring a little bit higher up. So, when you come to this region, that's the kind of things you're going to be finding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm very looking forward to it and to this journey. And now I understand why I had
Yes.
immediately that
Yes.
feeling. So it's beautiful that how the connection it really, really worked. And
Yes.
I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
This has been a magnificent time. We have two comments here that I would like to show.
Hey. Wow, you're still with us. Good. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I totally agree. And we have also another comment
Hmm.
from Matt. Thank you, everybody, and thank you.
Yeah.
And I am at a loss uh, for words for everything that you have. Okay, Simon. One
Oh,
last thing.
wow.
Isis is the spiritual limb of the leader of the mystical order. I'm connected to Sophia Center. Oh,
Wow.
okay. So we
Wow.
will definitely be stalking
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Simon.
TBC, Simon. To
Yes.
be continued.
And I thank you so much. I'm very grateful, very blessed for this opportunity, for your beautiful wisdom and energy. Looking forward to work with you further and to share with you further. And wishing you a beautiful feast day to you, the Sophia.
Thank you, Ines, for the invitation, and thank you, everyone listening now in the live moment and later on. Yeah, may the grace, the absolute grace of the Holy Sophia be with us always as wisdom, always as wisdom. Amen.
Absolutely. And may we all stay blessed. Um, Thank you again for taking part of this journey and for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Much love.